Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Disown. Today we're taking a look at the Sager NP9877 or the Clevo P870TM. Nope, you're not seeing double. It looks exactly the same as the NP9873, but it's what is inside that makes it different. Its standout feature is the 6-core i7-8700K CPU. It's a desktop CPU which has a base clock of 3.7 GHz and a max turbo 4.7, and it has a TDP of 95 watts. It uses the Z370 chipset, and even though it uses the same LGA1151 socket as used in the i7-7700K you get in this 9873, you cannot just put it in here, unfortunately. Now, in comparison, the 4-core i7-7700K has a higher base clock of 4.2 and a lower boost of 4.5 GHz. You can buy it starting at $2,829, and it can be configured to have up to 2 GTX 1080s in SLI. You can save a little bit of cash by going for the NP9175, which is still a 17-inch but has a slightly smaller chassis. This one can only has one graphics card in it and starts at $2,229. Now, I already did a full review on the Sager NP9873, and since this uses the exact same chassis, I recommend you taking a look at that video here. Now, the chassis is made of solid ABS plastic that has no flex, and it is easy to keep clean. It has 2 intake vents at the front, large intake vents underneath, and 2 exhaust vents at the back. Port wise, it has everything you could wish for. On the left hand side, you have 2 Ethernet ports, 3 USB 3 Type A ports, and 4 audio ports, which make good use of its ESS Saber Hi-Fi DAC, providing you with excellent audio with your headphones. On the right hand side, you have another USB 3 Type A port, an SD card reader, and 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. You also have 2 mini display 1.3 ports and a Kensington lock. Around the back, we have an HDMI 2 port and a 5th USB port. The keyboard and trackpad feel very similar to that used on the Alienware. I do wish it had a mechanical keyboard in this refresh, but still it feels very good, and it is backlit, which you can change the colors using the software included. You can also change the colors on the lid. It doesn't use Windows Hello to sign in, but you got a good fingerprint reader which works okay. This is what the webcam looks and sounds like. A 1080p webcam, and I think it's probably one of the better ones I've seen. The speakers on this are amazing. It uses Sound Blaster X360 software. Now, there are 2 differences in this compared to what's used on the 9873. First is the Reality 3D option. Now, I find that this makes the audio more echoey and hollow, and does slightly reduce its volume. Personally, I don't like it, and I keep it off. The second option is the ability to change your voice when using your microphone, such as sounding like an elf or even a kid. Hello.
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 It's a bit of fun which you can use on Skype chats. The screen can be configured with either a 4K G-Sync or a QHD 2560x1440 panel. Now, that's G-Sync as well. Now, if you plan on getting the 4K, it might be a good idea getting the second GTX 1080 option. Now, I have the QHD panel here with a single GPU, and it's a perfect gaming display. It has 120 Hz, so it's very fluid, and there's a 5 millisecond response time. It is the exact same panel as used on the 9873 and has the same color accuracy as it and the QHD Alienware 17 R4. Now, it's okay for casual photo work, and it's also pretty bright, and it's actually the same brightness as the 9873, of course, and its visibility is good. It's got a matte display, making it visible even when the sun is shining on it. Now, it is a TN panel, so you will get a little bit of fidelity loss when you tilt the screen fully back, but one plus is that the backlight bleed on it is non-existent. Opening up is easy, and inside this is what you are greeted with. As with the 9873, you get an 89 watt-hour battery that is easily removed and gives you the same 2.5 hours of battery life. It also has a beefy 3-fan cooling system. The only difference is an extra heatsink to cool the 6-core CPU. The stock paste on the CPU looks really poor. So after my initial tests, I then did I wanted to do some repasting. So I took it out, de-lidded it, repasted it with G-Lid GC Extreme. And if you haven't seen a video of that before, I have done it on the 9873 before, and then click up here. Now the paste on the GPU did look better, but it still was just a stamp. So I also repasted that using the same thermal paste. Now you do have 2 slots for 2.5-inch drives. So you can have two 2.5-inch drives in here. And to get access to other components, you've got to remove the keyboard. And to do that, you remove the screw next to where it says KB and shove a pointed screwdriver into it. The keyboard now is held in place by magnets, so it does pop out, but make sure that you take care not to damage the keyboard ribbons. You have 3 M.2 PCI Express slots, a Wi-Fi card, 2 more RAM slots allowing you to up it to 64 gigs, and you have a CMOS battery. You will see that you have exactly the same layout as on the NP9873. Now chassis temps under load are very good. Center of the keyboard is 22 degrees, the AWSD keys were 24, the number pad 28 and the trackpad at 20. Underneath it's about 31 degrees. So it might have a big thick chassis, but it holds a lot of stuff in here and it won't fry your legs. Now it is pretty hefty though, at 11.7 pounds or 5.3 kilos. That's heavier than the 9873 by about 1.5 pounds. But to be fair, I do have some extra M.2 drives in here and another 2.5-inch drive. Now, there is a lot of copper in here, but you need it to help cool it because there is a lot of power. With it overclocked and running handbrake and heaven at the same time, I saw 381 watts pulled from the wall. You know, you only get a 330 watt power brick, so I was actually concerned about battery discharging. But I'm happy to report that this didn't happen. Now the fan control is through the Sager control center. There are 3 presets. There's automatic, overclock and max fan. You can actually also create your own profile based on the temperature profile. Now the auto fan at idle is pretty quiet. It's at 22 decibels. Using the auto fan at full load, it's still quiet at 35 decibels. But does it cool a laptop okay? Well, the overclock fan steps that up to 48 decibels. And to be honest, I think that is the one I would use for everyday use because at idle it is also quiet. The max fan is loud at 55 decibels, but it's actually no worse than the 9873 here or the MSI Titan. So let's look at the temperatures. I measured both at stock and overclocked, and I also measured using an undervolt and with the system repasted. Now my objective here was to have a system that was cool and also very quiet. I overclocked the GPU using MSI Afterburner. Now you can use the utility in here, the control center, but old habits die hard, so I stuck with Afterburner. I got an extra 190 on the core and 366 on the memory. On the CPU, I was able to get 4.7 GHz on core 1, and I gradually stepped that down to 4.5 GHz on core 6. But no, without an undervolt, the CPU would not maintain even its default turbo boost in some of the games. I would see a clock speed of about 1950 to 3100 MHz, when its base clock should be 3.7. I would see a CPU power pull of only 16 watts to 46 watts. Now, although this didn't affect the gaming performance, it was a concern, and as soon as I applied a 150 millivolt undervolt, the CPU was able to maintain much higher clocks and a more realistic power usage of 65 to 90 watts. I believe the stock BIOS in here is at fault, and I'll soon be getting a Prima mod BIOS, and I'll do an update to see how that gets on. Now, I also increased the power limits to about 118 watts and increased the CPU cache override to 42, which was the max figure I could get. If you wish, you can also alter the timings of your 2400 MHz RAM. Alright, and so let's look at the non-gaming temperatures. At the bottom, you can see the base configuration. That's the stock clocks and the stock paste. With the auto fan, you get a toasty 92 degrees, and the max fan reduces it on average to about 86. So after the repaste, I saw a reduction of 6 degrees with the auto fan and 15 degrees with the max fan. That's not bad, and this means that you can now have the max fan performance with the quiet auto fan. Now applying the undervolt saw a nice reduction to 77 degrees with the auto fan and 69 with the max fan. But what if we overclock? Well, with the repaste, we get 85 degrees with the auto fan and 75 with the max fan. So I recommend applying the undervolt to give 73 on the auto fan and 63 on the max fan. Now I don't know why the overclock temperatures are actually less than the stock clocks, but there isn't a huge difference. And you know, to be fair, Either way, the trend is clear. The average effect of applying a repaste is a 10-degree reduction, and the average effect of also doing the undervolt is a whopping 19 degrees. 73 degrees with auto fan under load at 35 decibels is not to be sneezed at. Alright, so what was the non-gaming temperatures like? Well, let's look at what happens when we game. Again, stock clocks are shown at the bottom, and here the CPU and GPU do not have the repaste. Using the auto fan, the stock CPU is at 80 degrees and the GPU at 87 degrees. The max fan brings the CPU down to 65 degrees and the GPU to a more manageable 69. Overclocking the GPU results in an increase of 16 degrees though, and undervolt the CPU saw an extra 2-degree reduction. Repasting has a great effect. Even with the auto fan, the GPU is reduced by 5 degrees, so at stock clocks that makes it 82 degrees, which is perfect. The effect on the CPU is even more pronounced, with a 14-degree reduction, so that is in the mid-60s, which with the auto fan is fantastic. Now, if you're going to get this laptop and you don't want it to be loud, you must at minimum do an undervolt on the CPU and repaste the GPU. If you're up for it, delidding and repasting the CPU will make it much more enjoyable to use. Now, there is a custom PC maker like HID Evolution do offer this service for you, and I think it's worth every penny. In the gaming benchmarks, I do 1080p and the native QHD, so I can compare it to systems like the HP Omen X, and also comparing it against the 9873. So Battlefield 1, 1080p, DX12 ultra settings. The higher clocked 9873 wins the day here, with the 9877 and Omen X being tied until the system is overclocked. Still, it is hard to peg back that 4.7 GHz i7-7700K. Obviously 8 threads is more than enough in this game. We see much the same at QHD. Here I throw in the AW17 R4, which trails both the Sager systems. Doom, 1080p, ultra settings, all three systems pretty much perform the same. 165 FPS is pretty amazing stuff. At QHD again, we see the AW17 R4 get trounced by both Sager systems. The NP9873 and 9877 are pretty much even Stevens on this one. Grand Theft Auto 5 at 1080p. We see the same picture as we got in Doom. The Sager NP9873 has the upper hand at stock clocks because of its higher base frequency, but once they're overclocked, we see the 9877 catch up, especially with its nice GPU overclock. The AW17 R4 is again left behind. Rise of the Tomb Raider, 1080p DX12. This game must like extra cores on the 9877. The Omen X does well here. Stepping up to QHD, we see pretty much identical across all three systems. Performance is great, 98 FPS. Witcher 3, 1080p ultra settings. The AW17 R4 did very well on this, and the NP9877 must settle for second place ahead of the Omen X. Still, 89 FPS is a solid performance, but shows that having 6 cores doesn't always translate into more frames per second. Onto some CPU tests. In my Handbrake test, where I convert a 4GB file to MP4, you see the NP9877 really shine. Now, in any application that can use more threads, you will see a huge benefit with this. The NP9877 managed to get it done in just over 21 minutes when overclocked. That is some 9 minutes faster than the 4.7 GHz in the i7-7700K. Now, general high-end gaming laptops like the Omen X do okay, but they simply can't compete. In Cinebench R15 multi-thread test, we see a huge improvement over the mobile i7-7820HK that was in the Omen X. Imagine having the NP9175 and beating the Omen so easily. My last test is using my Magic's video editing software. The NP9873 overclocked to 4.7 GHz and 75 degrees finishes in about 18 minutes 11 seconds. Whilst the NP9877 overclocked, averaging 4,500 MHz and also at 75 degrees, gets the job done in 16 minutes 20 seconds. So that's an improvement of about 11%. It's not huge, but it is noticeable if you do a lot of rendering. So to conclude, the NP9877 is an awesome laptop. It is quite possibly the fastest one you can get right now. I haven't seen the Ryzen 8 core laptop yet, but I do have a desktop for that CPU, so I will do a smackdown between this and that desktop. But its combination of up to 2 GTX 1080s without a doubt make it king of the hill. But due to its extreme power usage, it's perhaps not a laptop for everyone. Unless you're prepared to do a bit of work on it, do the undervolting or do some repasting. Well, stay tuned for my Prima BIOS update on it, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Remember, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.